Hey everyone, it's Isaiah. Welcome, welcome. So, this is another episode of my Isaiah's Inspiring Evening podcast. And today, in the Deckiverse Diaries series, I am having an amazing guest, the amazing Katie Miller. So, before we go into talking about Katie and what she has created, I would like to introduce a little bit of the series. So, this is a series that maybe I think it's the first episode that is actually released. I'm not sure. So, the series is about cards and decks and shuffling. And the idea is that I have invited a few deck creators of all sorts to come and discuss their decks, how they created them, why, what the difficulties, the ease, the art, the various ways in which these decks were created. It's also this Deckiverse Diaries is also a collaboration with the amazing Deckible app that we're going to be talking a little bit later on with Katie. And it's all about deck ideas, card stories, and the amazing things that one can imagine with cards, whether physical or digital. And that's the trick. So, welcome, Katie. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
And I'm going to go on and read your biography because I'm not good at inventing or kind of, paraphrasing. So, the title of the episode that we're doing together is Mythical Creatures, Mystical Plants, Arts, AI, and Deck Creation. And Katie Miller is a dedicated conscious transformation and resolution guide. She believes in the transformative, power of pausing, breathing, and recognizing life's opportunities. Her unique approach enables clients to permanently resolve emotional trauma from their past, all without needing to discuss it. I love that. In every session, she guarantees a minimum resolution of 2 past events, making the process remarkably fast. Katie's very diverse healing modalities shape individualized paths to wellness, acknowledging that there is no single right way to heal and grow. Her core mission is empowering clients to discover purpose and master their emotional remote control. I love that. By reprogramming emotional responses, she helps them consciously trigger positive emotions, preventing negative triggers. But she has a second hat, let's put it this way. So, beyond her work as a trauma resolution guide, Katie serves as the assistant director and co founder of the Teen Suicide Prevention Society, passionately working alongside her family. Their goal is to equip individuals with the skills and resources needed to conquer personal challenges and cultivate a positive mental state, ultimately striving to eliminate the need for suicide intervention programs. With her dedication to individual healing and a broader mission for societal well being, Katie stands as a beacon of hope and transformation for those she touches.
Thank you.
Awesome. And with Katie, we're going today to discuss mostly her mythical botanical oracle deck, which is already available on Deckible, and more about that soon.
Very
And we're going to
excited.
discuss the way it was created, what it is about, art in general, and the journey of bringing an oracle deck to life. Voila, voila, big program.
That's a lot that
Yes, that's a lot.
we've
But,
covered, but
yes.
and I know that that's a lot with my bio too, but it all kind of feeds into how the deck was created.
Oh, it's interesting. So tell
Because
me.
I got my first tarot card deck when I was like 12 years old. So I've
Mm,
been playing with tarot cards and oracle cards for a good chunk of my life. But then life happened. I graduated high school, I got married, we had a son, and my cards kind of got put away. But I always felt the nudge to create my own deck. It just never, I never found the right time. I never had the right energy. I couldn't figure out how to get the images out of my head onto paper because I cannot draw. And I tried describing what I was seeing to other people, and it just didn't look right. Then my sister found a course on Facebook from Katia McEwen, who is on Deckable. I love her decks. But she offered a course to help use AI to get the images out of your head onto your cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with her guiding me on how to do the AI imaging part, I was able to actually create these images. And this deck has been playing in my mind for decades, before now, because I wanted to blend the power of the mythological creatures that I have always loved with the power of mythological and or not mythological, but mystical plants,
Mm-hmm.
because plants have healing properties and they have for eons. We've always
Absolutely.
used plants for medical purposes or for medicine. And so blending the two, because we had the power of the spiritual and the power of the physical,
Mm-hmm.
was how the deck was created. So using the power of Midjourney, the AI software, I was able to create the images that were floating around in my head for the cards for my deck. So then that way I already had all the words, I just couldn't get the art down. So the AI
Oh,
helped me
awesome.
get the art
So
down.
did you actually write all the words before,
I
or
had
did you
the
channel
I
them
had that
when the
out
image
I
was
had that
done?
out I had the basic outline. Like for example, I knew dragon and sage were going to go together.
Mm-hmm.
I knew unicorn and lavender were going to, so I knew which creature and which plant were going to go together, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
had like bullet points as to what
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to be, but it wasn't until I could get the images out of my head that it just channeled.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to get the text for the individual cards. And then I also was able to do a full deep dive into each of the cards. So the book that goes with it has the card, it has what I call the card text, because on Deckible, I was able to do the card with the image and then flip it over, and then you got the text that goes with it.
So
And
I'm
then
going
I
to
have,
interrupt because we need to
yeah,
catch up with the listener here. So Deckable, because you're mentioning Deckable. So I'm going to make a small parenthesis to explain a little bit what Deckable is. So Deckable is an
yes,
app that is to card decks what Audible is to books. Or basically you can have a deck on a digital platform that is called Deckable, and you can interact with the deck in a way more comprehensive way than you would in one of those little apps that you can find, pull a card for yourself. This is not
right.
what Deckable is a whole new ball game. First of all, you can have as many decks as you want.
Yes.
You don't, it's not limited to one. You can mix and match your spreads. You can create your own spreads. And I mean, I'm a client, as a client right now, not as a deck creator. You can also, as a deck creator, but even as a client, you can create your own spreads. You can keep an archive of your spreads. You can journal and keep an archive of your journals. It's really a very amazing platform. So if you're into decks, but your pockets and your drawers and your basically your house is now too small for the decks you want to buy, think about Deckable. And you will
Yes.
find the app on the Apple Store or the Google Store. It's really amazing. If you want to try it up, I think they give you 2 decks for free to play with. And you can now, new feature, you can now play with the deck for a week, I think, before committing to buying it. So you can
Ooh,
literally download it for a week, play, or is it 4 days? I wouldn't know exactly, but you have a few days to literally trial test a deck before you commit to buying it. And then if you decide to buy it, you keep it on your phone or your tablet or wherever, and then you can play with it and have it interact with other decks. Plus, the amazing thing is, and that's what you were saying, is that card decks on Deckable, since they're digital, each card can have more than 2 sides. So
right.
you can have a front side, a back side, and then a third, and a fourth, and a
Yes.
fifth side if you wanted. So
Yeah.
if I
So,
get you correctly, your deck has got a front, obviously, with an image, the ones you channeled and used AI to help you create.
create.
Then it has an obvious back that is just neutral so that
Right.
people can pull the cards. And then they have a third side, and the third side has got the text, right?
And right.
The
The third side
little.
has about a paragraph about the positive aspects of the creature, the mythological creature, and the Mystical, Botanical, and most of them don't have a side of caution, but there are a couple cards that, with every positive, there's a negative. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there is a caution message. For example, if you have one of the cards that talks about, being joyful and playful and mischievous. Well, the caution is don't do it too much.
Don't
So
overdo it.
don't overdo it. So it's just little hints like that. But in the book, I add a dive deep section where
Mm-hmm.
I go into a lot deeper into, the significance of the creature, the significance of the plant, and how they play in our everyday lives. Because I originally built the deck for myself. I took the course and I created the deck for Katie. So then that way I could use it because I figure if I'm creating it, I'm going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I had mentioned to about 5 of my clients that I created this deck that they were like, I want it too. I was like, okay. And then I had clients that I don't understand why you're creating this, but then they would still call me and ask me to help them with their trauma and give them advice and check in with my guides and see what it is that they needed to do. And I'm like, okay, even though you're saying I don't need to put this out there, your actions are saying this needs to be out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what gave me the push to get it on Deckible and to create a physical deck, which I have the first test drive, which needs to have a lot of corrections done. But I'm going to be doing a
But that's
pre-launch
that's
for the
also the
physical deck.
amazing thing. Now, if you're a deck creator and you're listening to us, that's also one of the amazing things is that you basically can have your deck on Deckible kind of almost immediately. Whereas doing a print thing takes time, corrections, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So what you can do is literally see if your deck is ready on Deckible, you put it there, and then you can have interactions with the buyers. They tell you if they like it, etc., etc. So it's also kind of a good beginning. I've got a few. I know of a few people who actually put their decks, deck creators who put their decks on Deckible, and then once they kind of started having a little audience for that, then did a Kickstarter
Yep.
for the print run, so that basically they already had a convinced public there that wanted the printed deck. So really, Deckible is amazing for both deck creators because you can make some money off of your decks even before they are printed, and for clients. So go and check it out. Now, I'm finished advertising Deckible. Bear in mind that I'm not an affiliate. I just love the
Right.
platform. It's
And
just
I
for the love
agree.
of it.
And I agree. I
As
mean,
a deck creator, I have one deck on Deckible already, and I'm planning another two. So it's really amazing. But and as a deck maniac, I can play with more decks. So and I'm
and I
traveling a lot.
I agree because I went from carrying 5 books in my backpack on a regular basis because I was in the middle of reading 5 different books to doing the tablet. So then
Hmm.
that way I could read a digital version of it, to then doing Audible. So then that way I can listen to it while I'm traveling. I was still carrying 5 different decks of cards in my
I know
bag
the feeling.
until Deckible came out. So
And
I
even
do
with the
love the
mini
fact,
versions,
yeah,
you
even with the
can't.
little tiny ones, no. I
It's too
like
much.
the idea that I have my phone with me all the time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I can quickly go up, pull a card when I need to try and
Now
get
the real
clarity on a
maniacs,
message.
though, bear in mind the real maniacs go and buy a tablet because it's bigger, so the card's bigger.
That's true.
I have a
I
friend who
just don't
said,
always have my
"I do,
tablet on me.
I resent Deckible because it had me buy an iPad." But anyway, so back to your deck.
But
I have a question.
sure.
So, but sorry, unless you had something that you
No,
wanted
I was
to.
just going to say the fun of it was just the creation process. And I could have a very, very, very busy day, but then take 5 minutes to create one image or to work on the text for one of the cards, for just take a 5 minute break from everything else. That 5 minutes of pure creation recharged me for the entire day. So that's why I
I love
know that
that.
this is
I
what
love that.
needed to come out.
I love that. And also, I love that for people who are in the process of creating their decks or have a dream of creating a deck. That's a very, very clear reminder and good reminder that you don't have to have 3 months doing nothing but the deck,
Right.
because then it never happens. You can, if you decide that this is going to be your 5 minutes of pure joy, do that when you have 5 minutes and proceed slowly and surely to create your decks. Because if you wait until some,
If you
magic
wait until you
moment
have
where you have,
3 weeks
yeah,
free to do it, it's not going to happen. I
yeah, no,
tried that
not in my
and
life.
I stopped having fun when I was trying to force the
Hmm.
information to
Hmm.
come out of me because I was trying to think I had to get it done within a certain time frame.
Hmm.
So when I decided as to, okay, I'm just going to use it as my break from everything else
Hmm.
and let it be fun, let it be playful, let it be an adventure, let it be
Hmm.
exciting. Let me be curious about what message is going to come through. I had more fun with it and I actually got it done in if I take, all these 5-minute blocks and add them
Hmm.
all together, I got it done in much less time than
Hmm.
me trying
Yeah.
to sit still
Hmm.
for 3 weeks to get it finished.
Absolutely. I have the same thing about writing,
Hmm.
because, waiting for a mystical time when I will have 6 months to write my books is not nowhere, never happening. So,
Yeah.
I have a question, and my question is a little biased, but you're gonna see that. Did you decide at some point or beforehand there's going to be X number of cards, or did you just run out at some point? Kind of, okay, I'm done now.
I knew that this was going to be a 52 card deck.
Okay.
And the reason that I knew it was going to be a 52 card deck is because that was how many cards I could hold in my hand and shuffle without sending cards flying across the room. Because that was my one difficulty with the tarot card deck was shuffling the cards without having them fly everywhere. Now, I do know that sometimes cards jump out of decks when we shuffle them,
Hmm.
and they do have significant purpose. But when it was chunks of cards coming
Yeah.
out, I knew that that wasn't a message. That was just me having a hard
If
time shuffling.
half of your deck is flying out of the deck when you're shuffling, we're not talking about a message. We're talking about
We're
either
talking about,
there's too many cards, or the cards are too big, or
right, there's a couple different factors on it. So
yeah, I
even
know
though,
of a deck creator who decided, no, I have small hands. I'm going to create a deck
yep.
that I can hold. Forget about the rest.
And that was the reason as to why these only had 52 is because I wanted to make sure it was easy for me to shuffle, that it was a
Hmm.
manageable size for most people to shuffle because most people can shuffle a regular poker deck. And then when one pops out, I knew that that was meant to come
Yeah.
out by
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
universe
Hmm.
versus me just not being able to wrap my hands around a really thick deck. And I think that was one of the things that I learned with all of the decks that I had collected over the years, because I
Hmm.
have several different tarot card decks. I have several different oracle card decks from multiple different sizes. And as much as I love the larger tile cards,
Hmm.
physically, they're beautiful. You can see the artwork so clearly. I can't shuffle them,
Hmm.
period.
Hmm.
It's
And
one of
again,
those that I
that's
feel like a
that's why we
five-year-old.
love Deckible so much, because you can
Yes.
increase and have a look at the artwork, without killing your hands. But I agree. I'm working on a second deck, and my first deck has got very small. I chose small cards because I wanted them to be easy to shuffle, because there's more than 52. So it was really important. And then I'm having this bouts of anxiety around, oh, I would love the artwork to be bigger, but then it's not possible to shuffle. It's like, and I
Right.
can feel the pull and the push. So yeah, it is, I think it is an issue. And having discussed with many deck creators by now, most of them are women. That's because I work mostly with women, and we do have smaller hands. you know we do, it's
And
a fact of
that's
life.
just the way how it is. But I also know that there is a version of a tarot deck bubbling in the back of my brain
Hmm.
that is going to come out. But I know that instead of it being the full tarot card size, I'm probably going to make it smaller
Hmm.
to like a poker card size. Because then, even though it's more cards, it'll still be easier to
Yeah,
manage and to shuffle.
absolutely. Hmm.
Because I know I can shuffle 2 decks of poker cards together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, at least that'll be manageable. And with that, it's just going to have to be pure picture.
Mm.
and all of the text is going to be inside of the booklet that goes with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going for something similar myself. So in the 52 cards, do you have series, or did the animals or the plants come in groups, or was it completely one after the other, and they have like, do you have families? Let's put it this way.
I really did not plan on creating families. Like, for example, how we have the 4 different elements inside of
Yeah.
a tarot card deck. There is no rhyme or reason as to which element they
I'm not
fall
saying you
with.
should. I'm just
Right.
asking. I'm just
It's
curiosity.
no, and I thought about it after I had come up with my 52. I'm like, can I organize them into elements? Can I organize them into flying versus land-based versus aquatic or whatever? And I just kept getting the word no.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
well, that
okay,
makes
the
sense
universe says it doesn't need to be separated into families. It just needs to
for
be as it
now.
is.
Absolutely. No, just I was just wondering whether, it kind of delivered a whole bunch of information.
The
And
the downloads I got was pretty much, okay, it's this creature and this plant, and here's the information. This
okay.
creature, this plant, here's the information. There wasn't any kind of thinking I needed to classify or separate it because I thought about it because logically, because I've played with so many different decks, it's like, okay, maybe we need to separate it into suits. Yeah. Every time I checked in with my guides, my pendulum, the answer was no.
Do they have
Like, okay.
numbers? Do your cards have
I
numbers?
I put them numbered them so then that way it was easier to match them to the book to get the deep dive. That's the only reason that they're numbered. They're numbered in the order of creation.
Okay.
And so then that way it would also be easier to find them in the book to get the
Yeah.
deep dive information. That's the only reason why they have numbers.
Okay.
There's
So
no
you're
other
not playing with
significance to it.
numbers. You're not,
Yeah.
they're not magic numbers.
No, they're not magic numbers. That's purely for me, it was pure convenience to make
No,
it easier
and
for
it
me to
is,
find the
yeah,
information.
and for the reader, whoever, because I
Right.
I kind of resent things that have no number and make you look through the book. You have to, search through the book for half an hour to find a card. I
Yeah.
find that
And I
really
thought
annoying.
about putting them in like alphabetical order inside the book, for example. But again, I got no. They need to be written in the book, the order that they were created. I'm
Well,
like,
then,
okay, so we're just going to follow what the universe is telling
absolutely.
me.
Did I say the title of the deck correctly?
Yes, mythical botanicals.
Mythical Botanicals.
Yes, mythical botanicals, because
I
it's
love it.
mythological creatures and mystical botanicals.
Mhm.
And so mythical botanicals is how the
Okay, so it's
name came
it's
about.
it's just mythological. Try again. Is I am mythological creatures.
Yes.
And they are from all over the
They
world. I
are
mean, from
from
various
they are
mythologies.
from every single mythology that popped into my brain. There's the classics, dragons, unicorns, Pegasus. There are centaurs. There are chimeras from Greek mythology. There are kobolds from German mythology. I mean, there's the Leviathan, there from the Bible. I mean, there's literally every single different
Creature.
aspect that came to me is what was in there because I've been fascinated with mythological creatures again since I was a child. So I had tons of books on these, and my guides are I have one humanoid guide. The other 4 are mythological creatures. So I'm like, okay, this is where they're coming from. So that's where the inspiration came from.
That's beautiful. And so, how did you go from the inspiration in your head to having the card, the image on the card?
I could, for example, I will use Dragon and Sage.
Yeah.
Just because that's the first card I created. That's the one that always comes to mind first. I knew that there was going to be a dragon, and I knew that I wanted to have the sage flowers inside there, but I didn't want it to be a typical roaring dragon from like European art And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want it to be a Chinese dragon. I wanted it kind of like a blend of the two. I didn't want it to be just the basic white sage flowers. I wanted it to be the purple sage flowers. So I could kind of get an idea as to what it was, but speaking about it out loud was very difficult. The beauty of using the AI was that I was able to, my initial prompt allowed me to put in, show me 4 different styles of dragons. And then when
Mm-hmm.
it was one that was kind of close, it was like, okay, take this dragon and make it a lavender color,
Mm-hmm.
make it in a watercolor form, kind of artwork instead of it being like a photograph artwork
So literally a process of refining the image until it matched the one that you
until it
had in your
matched the
head.
one that was in my head. Yes. And I did that with, I mean, some of them, Dragon and Sage, I think came up after the 4th refinement
Mm-hmm.
of the image that was come up. Other ones like Centaur and Time, that one took me by itself 3 weeks
Wow.
to refine that image
Not,
because
it was not,
AI did not
AI
know
was
what a
not
centaur looked like.
cooperate.
It did not, AI did not know what a centaur looked like. It kept giving me a human body with a horse head. And I'm like, that's not a centaur.
Okay.
So that one took a lot of refinement because I had to teach AI what it was that I was
Mm-hmm.
using. And AI is not intuitive. So you really have to be proactive with the prompts that you're using and stuff. And it is going to be frustrating and it does take time. But when it got to the point as to where I want to murder AI, I'm like, okay, take a break, go back to regular work, come back tomorrow, do another 5 minutes. Nope, no image today. Okay, fine. And then, later on, no image today. Okay, fine. And then it just kept refining it that way until finally one came up and I was like, oh my God, she's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's her because it's a
Mm-hmm.
female centaur. And it was like, okay, great. Now I have her. Now I just need to find a way to add the time. And of course, AI did its usual thing where it wasn't listening and was giving me changing the centaur instead of keeping her the same until again, finally got AI on the same page. And now I have a beautiful picture of centaur and time.
Awesome. So really a process of discussing with the machine until you could see uh,
When
on the
when
screen
I
what was in your
decide when
head.
I decided that I would when I talked to AI, it was like talking to my son when he was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Short, clear messages on what
Awesome.
it was that I wanted
Mm-hmm.
and writing the rules on what I wanted the output to be. It took time, but eventually they came through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really glad that I decided to break it up and do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Because if I had to work on Centaur constantly, hour after
For
hour,
five
day after
hours.
day, week after week, I would have given up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it was there. I just didn't quite have the right words. Just like describing the image in my head to an artist to have them draw it for me, I didn't have the right words.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, AI became the tool to get what's in my head out onto quote unquote paper.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love that. I really, I think there is a lesson for all of us here. It's about sometimes we want to finish something and we in fact kill the creative process by insisting and not just, okay, let's drop it for a while and I'll come back to it. I need a break. I need, maybe I need a 2 weeks break or something. But I think that instead of just pushing it, and pushing ourselves into a corner. Um, so
Well,
the
It's interesting because I read a book called Becoming Duchess Goldblatt, where the author is anonymous because Duchess Goldblatt is an anonymous identity on, I believe it was Twitter was the platform they were using.
Mhm,
So this individual created the character Duchess Goldblatt and was posting on Twitter
mhm,
random bits of advice and messages about your day is going to be okay. She would take a 5 minute break. I'm assuming it's a she, but the creator would take a 5 minute break from their busy schedule, do a quick post, and it allowed them to reset. So then that way they can finish getting through whatever project they were working on for their very highly quickly moving, high paced, stressful job. So I'm like, okay, if they're taking 5 minutes to do a social media post on something random to break up their day, why can't I do that for my cards? Take a 5 minute break, do something that's fun, creative, that I enjoy doing. So then that way I can focus on my work, working with the clients, working with my mission, doing all these other parts and pieces. So thank you to that book and the author and the creator of Duchess Goldblatt. So then that way I was able to use that method in creating my deck and
Yes,
still
and
enjoy the process.
Not only is it about not pushing it on, trying to do centaur in time for 5 hours in one go, but
Right.
on top of that, it's helping the rest of your day.
Yes.
So it's a
It's
double
helping the rest of
benefit,
it.
right?
It is because it's
That's
helping me
beautiful.
break up the sitting at my desk for 8 hours a day to taking a break and doing something that's fun. Now, granted, it's a good idea to take a break and get up from your desk and do something physical, but there were times where I was just so involved in my mission and getting websites built and doing tech support and then guiding my clients through resolving their traumas that it's like, okay, I need to take 5 minutes and do something for Katie.
Yeah. I see
And
you.
so by taking 5 minutes and working on AI art or, okay, clear my brain. All right, what am I write down about Phoenix and frankincense and get that out.
I love that. I love that. Also, I don't know if you realize, but I'm going to point that you are, by the way you have managed to create this deck, you're such an inspiration for anyone who is a channel and who has the
Aww.
images in their heads, but is not an artist. Because you actually did it. You found a
Yeah.
way to extract the images from your head into a deck. And there's so many people who think, I can see it in my head, but there's no way, I don't know, I'm not an artist, so I can't do it. So we're talking about a deck, but we're talking about basically anything. And
Right.
the fact that you could find a solution and learn and become the artist, because, AI is not an artist. You're
Right.
giving instructions, right? It's a collaboration. At the minimum, it's a collaboration. But I think that it's so inspiring and so empowering for anyone who thinks, I have something in my head that I can visualize, but there's no way I'm good enough while drawing or creating digital art or painting that I can produce an artwork, a deck, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's a permission given, really. Thank you. Because
I think that it is,
there's a
I think
lot of fear around AI. So
there is, but for me, it was realizing that AI is a tool,
yeah.
just as my computer is a tool
Yeah.
for when I write. Zoom is a tool for when I do video conferencing. I know that there are limitations with any kind of
Yeah,
software out there
of
because
course.
I do tech support. I mean, that I build websites for our nonprofit. I mean, this is all the stuff that I've learned how to do. So I know that there's only so much that any AI can do right now. And as much as AI continues to advance, I do believe that there's still going to be limitations just because we as individual humans have not all gotten to that higher level of consciousness. And until we as society get to that higher level of consciousness, AI is never going to catch up. That's just my personal belief. But when I decided that this is a tool that I can use and I just needed to learn the rules of the game to figure out how to talk to it, then that's when everything started to fall into
But
place.
that's a very inspiring idea in general, that instead of fearing whatever it is, and mostly the tools, we can sit our asses down and just learn to interact with them. And then we become master of the game, because then we
Right.
become the creator again. If we, kind of hide under the duvet because we're afraid of the tool, then obviously the tool is the master of us.
Because that's
Um,
what it was like when computers first came out. That's what it was
absolutely.
like when internet first came about. You know, there was so
Absolutely.
much fear because we didn't understand
Hmm.
its purpose. We didn't understand how it worked or anything like that. So that's why
And yeah, and the next
explore.
bit I want to say is this is also permission given that anyone that is willing, or who is willing, sorry,
Mhm.
that can do it. It's just a question of
Absolutely.
learning the thing. And
I
um,
really think it's more about just staying curious.
mhm,
As long as you are curious with everything that goes on in your world, then you will find ways for it to be fun. You
mhm,
will find ways to play. You will find ways for it to be an adventure. You get to explore. And the reason I'm specifically using these words of play, fun, adventure, and explore is because I found those to be some of my top personal values.
yeah, I
If
agree.
it's not fun, I
I'm
don't
not
want to
doing
do
it.
it.
I'm not doing it. Yeah,
If it's not
absolutely.
an adventure,
Hmm.
I don't want to do it. If I don't get to explore, I don't want to do it. If you tell me to fix a problem, if I don't have something else to make it fall under one of these top or
Hmm.
these values, I will struggle to get the problem
Yeah,
solved.
I agree. I
But
agree.
instead of looking at a problem, if I think of it as a puzzle,
Hmm.
ooh, now I'm excited.
So that's why I think the power of decks comes in, because all
Yes.
these words that you used, like play, fun, puzzle, it's game basically. And card decks have this very, very um, gamey thing attached to them. They're, symbolically, we don't work with cards, we play cards.
Yes.
And that means whether you create them or whether you play with them once they are created, you can stay in this, yeah, fun,
You can stay in this
light
curiosity,
energy,
fun,
curiosity,
exciting,
exactly.
and it
And that is so, I think that is so powerful. Um, Contrary to, a 600 pages book that would explain the same thing. The deck
right.
is making it so much more fun for people to understand what was in your head and what you put in that deck for them to be helped. If I had to read the book without any images, for me that would be boring. And I was a bookshop keeper, so I know I love books,
Yeah.
but still, the fun that we can find in decks is immensely more attractive to me at this minute in my life. Maybe I've got lazy.
No, I completely agree because I read books. Oh my gosh, I think I read like Little Women when I was 10 years old. I mean, and that's advanced for a 10-year-old. And then I saw the movie Little Women, and I was like, wait a minute. They got the details of this character wrong. They got the details of this character wrong.
I
That's
know
not
the
how they're
feeling.
supposed to look. So I can see where changing if you have a book, creating a deck to go with it, you can then show your friends and the people who are interested in your book exactly how you see your characters.
Yeah.
And I think that is more impactful because we see images before we see words in our
Yeah.
brains.
So technically, I had another question, which is for your when interacting with AI, how did you or did you, and if so, how manage or were you interested to have some kind of similar vibe in all the cards, or are they very different? Because I know AI can create images that look like photos, other that look like drawings, manga, or whatever. Did you decide to have one vibe,
The
or were you okay for anything?
the original thought was to have them in the style of like watercolor paintings
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I saw them. It wasn't until I got to Centaur, which I think, if I remember correctly, is like card number 6. What AI spit out was more of a photograph, but I knew it was her. Even though it
Mm-hmm.
was watercolors in my head, I knew it was
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm.
So the card is a blend of watercolor style artwork and photographic style artwork. And, some of them have both watercolors and, photographic style mixed into them
Mm-hmm.
because that's how they evolved. Because I originally saw it one way, but whatever AI spit out, some of them, the photographic version called to me more
Mm-hmm.
than the
Yeah.
watercolor
Mm-hmm.
version. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I originally started with a style, but it
which is
evolved.
basically
And
what any artist would say about a painting done with regular paintings or with
right.
watercolors. It's like at some point the artwork gets a life and it decides kind of on its own volition where it wants to go. And
And
the
what it
painter
wants to be.
becomes and the painter just has to follow instructions basically. My mother is a painter and she constantly says, I know where I start, I never know where I finish, because the
Yeah,
artwork once at some point becomes something. So whether you create it with a pen, with a brush, or with AI, at some point the artwork kind of becomes a product or a being of its own, and then it has demands, let's put it this way, that
it
this is
it
how it wants
does.
to become. Yeah.
It does. But I mean, my son draws. He's not a full-blown artist, but he does draw on the side. And he has told me that there are times that he'll draw and he has to put it aside because it doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, so if we're going on this intuitive nudge on whether something feels right or not, why don't I just use that same nudge when I'm doing my AI artwork? Which
Yeah.
is why when the images were coming up, I could be like, doesn't feel right, doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
right. And then again, Centaur in Time, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like looking at a photograph and being like, that's my grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I knew in my gut
Yeah.
that was the right image. And again, with Dragon and Sage, that watercolor picture of a purple dragon with purple and pink sage flowers, I knew that was my
Mm-hmm.
dragon.
Yeah.
So it
Awesome.
really is the same way with creating it with pen and paper or an art
Yes,
brush
absolutely.
as it is with the AI.
Absolutely. Thank you again for this, very in-depth exploration of mind, your interaction with AI. I think it's really fascinating how we can tame the beast that AI seems to be sometimes by
Right.
just playing with it, literally playing and remaining, as you were saying, curious um and playful. And and if it doesn't work, you doesn't work this time, you try again. You basically.
Yeah, it's the same thing as learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
You try, you fall, okay. You brush yourself off, you get up and you try
It's
it again.
same thing as trying to learn to paint, actually.
Yeah,
it,
learning to
it's
paint, learning a new software,
it's
learning to
very
cook.
not, yeah, it's not very frequent that you learn something new and that you get it on the first try, right? Kids, when
Right.
they learn to walk, they fall a lot.
And I really think that not necessarily the struggle, but the challenges, the bumps in the road that come along the way whenever we create something makes it a more powerful piece in the end.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that it means that for me, every oops or every accident or every bump is kind of a layer of interest in a
Hmm.
piece, because I'm an artist as well. So yeah, I believe that very strongly, that it's never a mistake when there's something going wrong. It's a new layer of something.
Yeah, someone said recently that I heard on a podcast that it's never a failure. It's
Mm.
just a temporary defeat.
Oh, I love that. I love
And
that.
I'm like, okay, temporary defeat I could deal with. Failure is permanent.
Yeah.
Nothing fails in my world anymore. It's always just a temporary defeat now.
Beautiful. I love that. Beautiful. So we're coming close to the end of our talk, because it's, time flies. So I want to remind everyone that this deck is so the again, Mythical
Mythical botanicals.
Botanicals is available on Deckible.com, and you can get your hands on it right now. I also invite you to go and check out Katie on all her other places, which you will find the references above or below the audio, depending, in the show notes. Around this video or audio, all the information is there, I guarantee. And yeah, I'm really happy that we had this talk. I want to specify we're recording this on your birthday. So
Yes,
happy
we are.
birthday.
Thank you.
And I believe in magic numbers. So you have a magic number birthday. I'm not going to say which one, your choice. And magic numbers for me are numbers of foundation. This magic number is sorry again, is the number of foundations and creating a base for some future construction. So I would hope that your deck is the foundation for a new branch in your development as a person and as a businesswoman, and that we get to see more of that AI channeled art, because I think it's beautiful.
I think there will be, because I have had a nudge for another one. I'm not gonna say what type it is because I don't want someone to steal it, to be honest.
No, I think but I think it's fascinating that we evolve and our creations follow us, or precede us sometimes. They go up
Yeah.
front. It's like I'm not even finished with this one, universe. Give me a break.
Yeah,
I need a
give me a moment.
vacation.
Let me finish A before I move to B.
Yeah, exactly.
But I agree. Once you get this, once you find a way to create what it is that you feel like you are meant to do, you can't stop. You're going to
Yeah, go
continue
and
to
do it.
create.
Go and do
So
it.
go and do it.
And yeah, and permission given to create an oracle deck or a card deck, even if you're not an artist, even if you're not a painter, even if you think you don't know how to, you can learn, because you can learn if you want to. And so yeah, I'm loving this message behind your deck. I'm obviously loving your deck as well. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
can't wait to put my hands on it, and hopefully having a long and successful career for this deck, because I love mythical creatures.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed with the Greek mythology, being a Greek of Greek origin, and I
Hmm.
work with the Greek goddesses. So, um, but you opened up a few ideas for me around mythological creatures, because I work with the goddesses, but I kind of steer clear of the beasts for now. But maybe they're calling me.
You know, they might just want to come and play.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see what happens. So if you
Thank
want to know
you.
more about anything regarding Katie's real life or Katie's Oracle creator life, get in contact with her, and you will, I'm sure, get to have an amazing experience. Thank you very much, Katie, for being my guest today.
Thank you so
And I
much.
do hope we get to meet again. I'm not making any promises, but I am holding a new edition of the Deckiverse Congress, and I do hope that we get to see more of
And
Katie at this
it is
occasion.
it is bookmarked on my calendar. So yes, I am planning on being there to play along.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.